The Ryen Russillo Show, presented by DraftKings. Packed show for you today. Dianna Russini on the NFL trade deadline. The Jets turning the page. What are the Cowboys doing in a huge name that didn't get traded? We've also got our guy, Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski, who is up at St. Bonaventure as the general manager of the men's basketball team. What that job has been like for a year, and also his thoughts on moving on from the media. And did he feel left out when the Luka trade happened? We've got that and life advice. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All of your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. Steph Curry drilling logo threes, Donovan Mitchell taking over, and Cade Cunningham leading the next wave with more markets open for more of the game. DraftKings, the number one sportsbook for live betting, is live when others aren't. Bet quarters, player props, scoring, runs, and more, all while the action unfolds. New customers bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. That's code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass plus 300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Chill.
Buy now and get the Russillo hoodie free. Call 1-800.
European theater.
The week is the Oregon Ducks.
We need a big push here.
Probably not going to be the best open you've ever heard, but let's talk about the college football committee rankings, the playoff rankings as of right now. We'll run through it. I just don't know that it was that exciting. I don't think it was, but that's okay. I mean, it is 25 slots here. I don't know that you can get mad about one or two, but it is interesting whenever the committee rankings come out and then the usual suspects just out of the fucking woodwork going, oh, well, if this is this and then this is this, it's like, oh, you have a problem with a list of order of preference of 25 things? No way. I don't know that I can get super mad about any of this. Group of five's probably not loving it right now. There are 0 non-Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, ACC teams other than Notre Dame who came in at 10. So we'll run through the rankings in case you haven't bought a computer. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, top 3. Bama, that would be your fourth seed. Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU at 7, Texas Tech 8, number 9, Oregon, number 10, Notre Dame. Texas is 11. Oklahoma is 12. Oklahoma and Texas kind of fall into that old, I always use that old Baylor TCU thing from what was that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, where the problem was the head-to-head was the loss, but it was a better loss. You know what I mean? Like, you're sitting there going, hey, how are we going to do this? Be like, well, the head-to-head should matter. And the head-to-head should matter up until, like, maybe it doesn't matter. And I don't even know necessarily how to define it, because there'll be times where I'm just huge on the head-to-head. But then if you go Texas, Oklahoma, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, Texas's losses are to at number 1 Ohio State, but then the Florida loss is worse because technically, if you're looking at what Oklahoma did, their loss is better to Texas, who was actually unranked at that time and now ranked again. And then at home against Ole Miss, against the top 10 team in the country, but they have the Michigan win in there. So look, if you want to do that for an hour, go ahead. I'm not going to do it right here. I think really what we would have are sort of the main talking points. If I were doing radio today and had 3 hours to fill, I'd probably still be talking NFL, but Texas, Oklahoma at 11 to 12 is irrelevant because on the seeding part of this, UVA's your 11 seed as the ACC champ, even though they're ranked 14th in the committee's rankings. And then the 12 seed for this would be Memphis as your highest group of 5, who again is not ranked. They're 22 in the AP. So yeah, big party momentum here for the bigger conferences. Small guys feeling left out. Welcome to college football. So Texas and Oklahoma is both relevant based on how the committee seems. Like if Texas all of a sudden or one of those two teams was like 14 or 15, you'd be like, okay, maybe they have some work to make or some ground to make up here, some work to do. Although the committee emphasizes that we reseeded every single week, you can say that, but it also means it's like this is how you feel about these teams, which will be likely a lingering feeling through the rest of these rankings. So Oregon at 9, I have them 4. No one agrees with me. The AP has them at 6. The coaches poll has them at 6. So the coaches AP a little bit closer to me on this one. I understand the argument against Oregon. I understand every one of them. Best win is what? Northwestern, Russillo? You pretend to be a knower of ball? Yeah, resume is not going to work. You want something even worse for the Oregon resume? Their opponent's combined winning percentage is just about 47%, which ranks 116 in the country. Not great. Uh, their loss is really good because, again, I think conversely, the Indiana win at Eugene is the best win of the college football season. So can you be the best win and then also suck? Because I think a lot of people agree with the first part and disagree with the second part. I could tell you it was 2020 in the fourth quarter against Indiana because it was, but even I, came on after that weekend and was like, look, I'm putting Indiana 2. I think it's the best win, and we can sit there and pretend it was really, really close. But I would say for 3 hours, Indiana was clearly the better football team. So now you look at Oregon, if you really want to attack this and go, well, if you're digging into it, like Northwestern's your best win, Montana State, Oklahoma State. Hey, Russillo, don't you usually bring up those kinds of games and go, this is who you played in your non-conference? Are you kidding me? Did you see what South Carolina was slated with this year? Fair point. Sometimes I do just watch the teams and go, hey, I think this team is pretty good. And it's kind of the thing that I can't say it other than you just have to believe in me. I believe at Happy Valley in the whiteout a few weeks ago, despite what's happened at Penn State and what's happened to James Franklin, I believe that was a hard game and a nice win. You want to believe that it was easy retroactively because Penn State shit on themselves against UCLA, Northwestern against James Franklin. Looks like he's going to beat Vatek. If you want to tell me that it was actually way easier and the non-ball knowers are falling for it, you can make your point. I'm just going to disagree with it. Now, if you want to say, hey, LSU Clemson, did you do the exact same thing? I did. I thought beating Clemson opening week at Clemson was a tougher game. I think what we've learned is both those teams weren't that good. And I think that it could be, it can be true with the Penn State one. Again, it's my opinion versus the LSU Clemson one, where it could be my opinion that it's not as impactful, but there's more argument for that. I just think that, again, like Bama losing to Florida State, I think that was a really tough game for Bama. Florida State looked awesome. Sure, Bama was down 3 guys. Teams like Bama, I usually don't have a ton of sympathy when it's like, oh, you're missing. I mean, other than a quarterback or maybe your left tackle or your best edge guy, they're missing a running back, one of the edge guys, and I think another offensive lineman who's not one of their best offensive linemen. So there's a game that we're all going to keep playing here over and over and over again, arguing for or against. And what I think is lost in all of that is that anytime a team doesn't have necessarily a great record, or you're the disaster that is Penn State, based on expectations and everything that's happened with them, then the mistake is that win actually isn't a good win. And I'll never agree with that. I'll never think after watching that Penn State Oregon game going like, yeah, it was pretty easy actually because Penn State sucks. Shouldn't have gone overtime if Oregon's that good. So a lot of arguments against my position on liking Oregon more. I totally understand all of them. Let them fly. But that's where I'm at with the Ducks. UVA. What do we do with Chandler Morris and the crew? Because if you start looking at the worst loss, the Bama Florida State loss as of right now looks like the worst loss of any of these top teams. And then maybe you go Texas, Florida. I don't think at the Swamp is a bad loss. Then you start thinking, well, okay, where's that next bad one? Is it Virginia and NC State? Virginia is in a weird stretch. Double overtime Florida State. The overtime game Louisville. 22-20 against Washington State is 4-5. Overtime win at UNC, which I guess UNC's a little bit better, but I don't think Syracuse played like a little lacrosse player at quarterback. And then at Cal, which traveling all the way out there, going out of Cal, even though Sangapulatelli is not like the hipster thing anymore for them. I don't know that that's like, hey, I was on the fence about UVA, but after those 5 games, I'm all in. But ACC champ, they're going to get in, so it's not going to matter. Look, I think the biggest thing that I kind of love about this year versus last year is how dumb we all collectively can be as people. I'm reading 1929 right now in the Great Depression, and more as I've gone through my readings. If you're new here, I just start coming back. Like I think there's so many of us that want to do the right thing, that are not a burden to society, that just get really frustrated with the people. It's like, are you just a taker? Are you a complainer and a taker? I mean, the combination of like the worst people you can think of. Because I think most of us are wired the right way and kind of want to stay out of each other's way and hope everybody does as well as they can and are happy. I think, unfortunately, we hear from a lot of the people that fuck it up. But then you read a book like 1929 and you're like, maybe we just are all way worse collectively than we'd like to believe. Maybe my first point is actually completely wrong. And that even if we're nice to people and we stay out of each other's way, our belief system, the way we project things, that we are just so much more flawed than we could ever imagine. You know, the no good government line of like, do you ever realize that whatever system that you have, you always think that the other system is going to be better? Much like firing head coaches in college football. And so when I think about the playoff committee and structuring this new 12-team playoff last year, for them to go, hey, we're just going to give straight seeds to the conference championship winners no matter what. You're like, you do realize you could have a disastrous season where that team's automatically getting a bid and a chance to play for a national championship. Like there will probably be a 8-win team. If you ran this out for 20 years as 12 teams, which isn't going to happen, if you had that much history, right? And in the same exact system, because it doesn't really make a ton of sense. It's like, well, last year the committee did this. It's like, well, last year was the first year of a new system. So it's going to run out 10, 20 years before we think we can come up with any kind of trend. And again, the committee's completely different every single year. But that with this system in place, not only allowing someone in a hypothetical scenario that stinks as a conference champ of a conference that's terrible, it's like, hey, you're welcome to the party here because we want this to be, I'm not going to bring up socialism right now, but we want there to be elements of this where it feels like everybody's involved and everybody gets their chance. Everyone has a seat at the table, the program. And then you're like, yeah, but we're also going to give the top 4 seats to those champs or the higher ranked group of 5 team that we had last year. And you just go, yeah, that's really stupid. That's really stupid. Like you could have Oregon, who got the bye in the second round playing Ohio State, Penn State, who did not get the bye because they smashed SMU as the ACC champ for 2 years now. It's just ACC is not doing a great job perception wise. But then you have Penn State play SMU, and then they're playing Boise. So Penn State's playing Boise because of the seeding stuff in the second round, and Oregon's playing Ohio State. And this is the part, back to the human nature, where I'll finish again, is that sometimes we can see the mistake before the mistake happens, but we don't change until it has to take place. We can see the hypotheticals and be like, we'll be fine. And then the first year of the new 12-team playoff, you're like, what's not cool is that seeding. So at least now we have the straight seeds, even if I still hate the 12 teams. We're DraftKings guys, and we're excited about it. So Rudy, Kyle, we've got a couple things chefing up for you. Some Harley Davidson gear as well for Kyle today. First
Noticed
time
it.
seeing him up on the video.
Dude, I might just start riding. I'm trying to decide who I'm going to be. There was an exercise ball. I was like, should I sit on the exercise ball today? I'm like, it's new me.
Better for sex.
Those upstate New York
Office.
roads, man, they're just free.
Office reference. You would have to understand that. And I said, you better get the reference in there because you just look super weird. Can we decide on who you're trying to be prior to life advice? Can we do that a little bit later in the show? Because I love this. Sure. I love the entire topic. I could not read emails and just do this with you for 30 minutes.
I was thinking about maybe even going one button for life advice, one less button. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. It's a long
it's
show.
all on the table.
It's a long show.
We're trying different stuff. I mean, the show is essentially the same, but who knows? Maybe some different bunting. All right. Good start for us, and we've got an alliance play for you as well. So what do we got, Rudy?
Yeah, so we did our first King of the Court pick last night as a group. We each picked one guy, and Ryan, you hit it. Josh Giddey, who is the top 5 player in the NBA apparently right now. He leads the night in points, rebounds, and assists. So you and anyone that followed you, I think it was like 10,000 people had Giddey. He was, I think he was like the 4th highest choice. So everyone who had him won almost $100, like 90 something bucks in bonus bets, which is awesome. I had Maxey who came in second, and Kyle had Devin Booker who came in fourth. So honestly, like we were on it last night. Like we were locked in. So we are king. You're king of the court. You're home for king of the court apparently on DraftKings.
Do I get a shirt? I have to get a shirt out of that, don't you think? First pick with the new sponsorship, and then it's just a good feeling.
You could probably expect at least a shirt. Yeah.
It feels like we could pull that off. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be cool. Originally, I was going to go with LaMelo. I was going to
I
go
know.
with LaMelo.
Late
and
scratch.
Then Cerruti's like, late scratch, buddy. And I was like, you know what? Give me Giddy. And how about the comeback for the Bulls last night? I went
Vooch.
to OKC's comeback. James Harden, I think, had 17 points 8 minutes into the game. I had a blast. I was like, this is what I came here for. And, Jim played well. No Kawhi last night. But you could sense, especially like Wiggins hits that three, they kind of messed up Collins. It was the 2-for-1, and then they had the ball to almost the same as the game clock, shot clock, and then they took a shot a little bit too early. OKC comes down and hits that three. I was like, Thunder are winning this game. Thunder are going to come back and win this game, and they did. There you go, little NBA for you. Tales from not the couch, tales from the club seats. So,
All right.
So what do we need?
We're bringing the Alliance back. NBA Alliance. So
NBA
3
Alliance.
picks from your boys. We're going to do player props and
NBA
you can bet 'em.
Alliance.
Never
Yes,
never is it a sport I'm locked in on, but I'm a chameleon. I'll make a pick just like you guys.
Yeah. What do we need? What do we need Kyle to bet? I guess Drake Mayovers.
Hey, college
we'll get the
basketball.
Kyle special
I don't
up
think
there.
Kyle.
Anybody
would dispute. I'm a college basketball guy for the last couple of years at least. So
If it was about watching, I wouldn't have had as disastrous a year in college football as I did. So, don't worry about it.
oh, you know what? You're right about that. All right, cool.
Sometimes
Yeah,
they say the more you watch, the worse you are.
Well,
Heard
last year for college
All right,
ball for
this
me, absolutely.
becoming a little
is.
gratuitous. Let's get to the segment.
All right. How are you though? How are you feeling, guys?
Doing
Go
great.
ahead.
I'm feeling great. And honestly, Kyle, why don't you lead us off? So we're going to do player props. Again, you can bet these individually or as a parlay, as the Alliance Parlay on DraftKings. So what do you got, Kyle?
I was looking at Brunson. I knew it off the jump. It's just, the energy's here, even in the crown jewel.
You feel it even upstate.
Yeah. Any bar you go in, the Knicks are on. It's awesome. And I had to scroll a little bit to the left to get, because they wanted me to bet like over 30 or 28. I went to 25. I believe that's like minus 180 or minus 150. But for a parlay, that'll work for us. So I have Brunson 25 or more points as my leg.
That is good. I am going to take my former nemesis, Lauri Markkanen, playing the Pistons tonight. He's averaging like 31 a game. Give me 25 plus points for Lauri. So there you go.
Deontay George is going off. He's not even making threes yet.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you like that 25 number too? Cool.
Yeah. So we're gonna go with that. But then Ryan, what are you taking?
I'm going to zag on all this Jaw stuff. I wouldn't trade you dick for that guy.
Okay.
But give me
Noted.
for a night, although I don't necessarily love the matchup defensively for him in this one. Maybe Angry Jaw gets up 26 shots tonight. So give me, I don't like the payout on the 20 or over points. The 22 or over, it drops down dramatically. I think it's like minus 194 to minus 120. So it's worth it. Just the value alone on the 2 extra points. So,
All right.
Yeah.
So Jalen
as a
Brunson, 25 or
non-Jaw
more.
guy. Yeah, sorry.
Lauri Markkanen, 25 or more, and Ja 22 or more. Pays out just over 4-1. So
Come on.
let's go.
Sweet spot.
I've got a thought because I was going to use this today, but he's not playing tonight. Embiid's not playing, I don't believe. I mean, do I need to double check this? Let me see. Let me go back because he's not on the board right now because I was going to do something different with my play that was Embiid based, and it's watching a lot of Sixers. So let's just double check here. He's not playing tonight. He played last night. He's not playing in the
Back to back.
back-to-backs.
So it feels like
Right.
he's not playing.
Yeah. And he wasn't available to pick here because I was looking for action on first point scored in a game. If you watch Sixers games, one of the first things that they're trying to do is get him fouled. So he ended up taking a 3 in the Charlotte game. So he did score the first points in that one. Against Washington, this is when I first noticed it when I was like, okay, he got an absolute dog shit foul call on Alex Sarr, and he was at the free throw line, made the free throw. Then against Boston in the rematch, I can't believe I'm going through this again. He had free throws. Actually, it was 2 minutes later there. So he was touching the ball with Jabari Parker. Excuse me, not Jabari Parker. That would be news. Jabari Walker. ended up making the layup off the Embiid play. And then the reason that I'm bringing this to your attention is that last night, as I watched the start of the Bulls game, I was like, oh, wow, 10 seconds into the game, bullshit foul on Vucevic, where all he's doing is just like, let me see if I can flail and get to the free throw line here early. So that's 3 of the last 4 games. The other was when he actually had the assist. So just planting the seed. First
Okay,
point
theory.
scored next time he's back in there. And the reason I remember it is not so much because of tracking or charting what they're running. It's just how mad I would get. It'd be like
Yeah.
4 o'clock West Coast
Your
time,
visceral reaction.
5 o'clock West Coast. All right, on the couch, ready to go. And then it's like the first thing I'm seeing to start the night is that foul call. That's garbage almost all the time. So rant over. All right.
Good note.
Shout out DraftKings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DraftKings, what's up? Where's the shirt? Trade deadline's behind us. It was an exciting one. Very excited to talk to Dianna Russini, who joins us quite a bit from The Athletic. Check out her column on Saturday mornings. Me and the family, we start our Saturdays with it. Soccer practice, we're like, we'll get there, but we've got to read all this info first. And of course, her podcast, Scoop City. It's good to see you. What's up? Busy day.
Hi, busy day. Yeah. Not expected. I will say that. It was one of these trade deadlines where, when you talk to a bunch of people around the league, they all say the same thing, which is, it's a lot of smoke. You know how this goes. Everyone just likes to make it sound exciting. And then Monday, I feel like it shifted. Conversations that I think a lot of the flirting started to get really serious. And then we saw what we saw, which was pretty wild. And when you take a look at it big picture, though, if the Jets didn't decide to do what they did, I actually don't think this would have been as juicy, right? It would have been just like they always are. It was the Jets making that call over the weekend, which is, from what I understand, is when they said, okay, we're doing this. That's essentially what made this fireworks,
All right, so let's get into the Jets thinking here. The Sauce trade is huge. We'll talk about the Colts side of it, obviously the Quinnen Williams deal. So we're talking about like two pieces of your defense here, foundational pieces. They just redone the deal with Sauce, which is like historic in itself. Like, hey, rookie, massive extension, but we'll trade you before that. I think the number I saw was like 2 first-rounders involved in season in the trade. First time it happened in like 30 years or something, or maybe the second time in the last 30 years. So let's start at least with Sauce. It's a need for the Colts with their injuries at the secondary. You could argue a bit, like there's some declining numbers there. You look at the passer rating against Sauce, at least for this season. But, okay, so fine. Like maybe he's dipped a bit, but the thought of resetting it already, even though, it's been a largely disappointing year for the Jets.
Yeah, I think that just tells you that they made that decision collectively. And from what I understand, that this wasn't like Woody or his son saying, we're doing this, we have to tear this thing down. This is Moogie and Aaron Glenn, who, you got to take into account that Aaron Glenn was a corner and he just traded away an all-pro corner, right? Like, that position well, and you know what the expectations are. And that just says to me that they didn't think they were good enough for what they want to do. But I also think they know that the New York Jets aren't going to be good enough to have these guys on the team. There's no reason to have them when they can start building towards doing what they need to do, which is go get a quarterback. Like, that's what this move is about. That's what both these moves are about, of how can we finally go get what we need. And I mean, initially when I was reflecting on the moves they made, I'm like, this just feels like deja vu. And it is. They did this already, right? But they did this a few years ago and they found the pillars, and these 2 guys were part of it. Yet they just haven't had the quarterback. I was at the owners meeting like 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to Woody Johnson about all the different things from the past year. And he was really transparent. He was really open. He took time to talk, and I appreciated that. But the last thing I asked him, right as I could tell, like he was kind of done talking to me, I said, hey, before you go, who are the most important people with the New York Jets organization in terms of the players on your roster? Like, when you look at your roster, name the foundational pieces, the pillars. And he's like, we're all good here. And he walked away. And I was like, that's so weird. That's a layup question, right? Like, that's an opportunity to talk about all the guys that you want. And yet I think I know why now. I think he knew then that he was going to have to move on from the pieces that we would have thought a Quinnen Williams, a Sauce Gardner were going to be the future. Garrett Wilson, obviously he's like loved by Woody Johnson. So I knew he wasn't going anywhere. A couple teams called to get a feel, but the Jets phones were busy over the weekend because I think a lot of teams realized that they were willing to tear this thing down a bit.
Okay, now take us through the Quinnen Williams thing because again, it's the Sauce decline for whatever we think it is. It's probably being overstated, right? Like when I share that number, go ahead. It seems like you have something on your
Yeah,
mind.
no, it made me think of Indy, right? Like Indy's not saying it. Indy's not looking at it that way. Like it is funny because it's now their prize. I just think what Sauce was going to be able to provide the Jets for right now is a wash. Whereas you look at Chris Ballard making a move like this, and Lou Anarumo is sitting in a meeting yesterday when he found out about it, and he's jumping for joy, just knowing what it can do for a beat up secondary, as you explained, but also just to help with the pass rush, right? Like think about what Lou was able to do in that AFC Championship game with a roster that I would argue was not as good as this Indy roster. Like this is the piece they need. An organization that believes that they're in this. They're going all the way. They're going all in, and also obviously going in all in on Daniel Jones, right? Because that was another thing. I talked to Indy a few weeks ago. Like, why don't you just extend the guy if you like him so much? And like, oh, we'll get there. We want to see. Well, we don't have to see, right? They just told us. They just told us Daniel Jones is the future, whether they have a deal with him or not, in 8 games, which I don't know. Are you sold yet? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to New York and I saw too much Daniel Jones that I'm still like, damn, like, isn't there an injury that's gonna pop up here? And I don't want to put that out there, but that's a lot to say Daniel Jones is the guy already.
I've seen it argued a bit like this just means that the Jones thing will happen because they're using this kind of draft capital on a corner, which would take them out of the look. It doesn't take them out of the market if Jones thing doesn't work out. It's like, oh, we made the Sauce trade, so now we cannot figure out a way to draft another quarterback. You draft one later. It just allows you less flexibility to use as much capital for somebody on that. But yeah, this is this is a lot like college football in Indiana and Ohio State. Like Ohio State's a 3.5 point favorite in a hypothetical matchup here in the Big Ten championship. And I think Indiana is incredible. I think they've had the best win in college football this season. But it's going to be really, really hard for me to pick Indiana in
Yep.
that game. And it's going to have everything to do with just the history and the uniforms and all the stuff that shouldn't matter. And when I look at the AFC, I was looking at the playoff seedings today. I was like, I have to get to the 5th seed before I'm like, okay, like I'm not going to pick Denver to win the AFC. I'm not going to pick Pittsburgh, which is now only seeded the way it is because of the division. I'm not going to pick New England, which is a nice story, but it probably has as much to do with scheduling, and we'll see how the rest of it plays out here. And so that leaves you with the Colts, and it's like every single number tells you, like every number here tells you, like they're really balanced. Jones would be great. I know this is coming off the Steelers loss where they had 5 turnovers before the Steelers had that fumble, but um, the only thing getting in the way is this really going to happen? They're really going to play in the Super Bowl, turning this thing around with Daniel Jones in 1 year?
Yeah.
Like it
Like
just feels hard. It feels
it's
hard to say that.
it's so hard. Is Ice Spice gotta like Indy? She dates Sauce Gardner. You probably don't know that. Do you know who
I
Ice Spice
didn't, but I
is?
do. Let me write that down. Is it spelled the normal way?
This is why I come on the show to keep you updated with all the rappers dating players. Cardi B. See her in the
I
suite
did see
with
that.
Robert
Yeah,
Kraft, rubbing that belly.
I was happy. Everybody seemed to be having a pretty good time.
When
Um,
did New England become fun? Oh my gosh. It's like everything on my like social media is just like them like celebrating. I'm like, what planet am I on right now? But yeah, so really to put a bow on Indy, um, you
it's
have
a
to
huge need,
always
though. To your point, like Javarius Ward's out with that strange pregame injury.
what a
It's not like there's name brands at corner, and they've been
they're
shuffling. Go ahead.
but there's talent. And I keep stepping on you today. Sorry, man. Um, it's not like I came in hot. It's just the roster has been talented though. And I remember talking to someone there this summer, and I wasn't like they kept telling me how good they are, which everyone says that in the summer. But I'm like, what? Like, really? And it's always like, oh, we're a quarterback away, we're a quarterback away. And then when you kind of go through that, like you see, you're like, you're kind of right. Like they are built really well. They just have been so bad at quarterback. It's been hard to appreciate them because they haven't been able to show that off. And go figure, it's Daniel Jones that is the one that shines the star now. So I'll be curious to see what kind of deal they give him. Will it reflect like a Sam Darnold deal that we just saw get done? The two quarterbacks right now that I had no idea were going to be this good this year are now the story. And remember too, in this time of year, this is a general manager who, he was under the gun to win this year. He is like he's had plenty of time. And Shane Steichen as well. So I think you make these moves because you're all in. You have this attitude of like, we got to win, we got to do this. And he may be right. Just like I look at the Jets making these decisions, we may look at this in 3 years and be like, holy hell, the Jets are dangerous. Or we'll be having a conversation about who the new general manager is going to be.
Yeah, right. It just depends on whether or not they hit on these draft picks. And then, I mean, we're talking not a couple years before the picks. We're talking like 5 years to know if this even worked out. And so whenever you're trading somebody like Sauce, who, you think more often than not, he's not Surtain. I don't think he's Singletary, but he's certainly in the next conversation. Um, it's a bit like, and I'm doing another analogy here, but I cannot stand when bad baseball teams trade an ace, especially like a young guy that's under control, because I'll just think like whatever you think you're doing in 2 or 3 years, you're desperately going to want one of these pitchers and you're not going to have it. So if he's happy and he's fine, like I don't think the need is that everything has to be torn down. You're not allowed to have anything good.
Well, that's why they didn't move Jermaine Johnson. That's why they didn't move Brees Hall, right? Like I think there's a little bit of that there as well.
But the whole thing would have happened if they've gotten the third rounder instead of the fourth rounder, right? Which it probably felt like other teams that were calling are they going to like, look, they're tearing it down. They'll give in. It's a running back. They're not going to argue third or fourth rounder. And it sounds like they held to that.
Yeah, they did. And I don't necessarily, not that I'm like Miss GM over here, but I don't necessarily agree with that decision because you're not keeping the guy, obviously, right? You're not going to tag him. I mean, if they tag him, I really don't get that, right? You already haven't extended him, and he wants out. Like everything is in line to just move the player and just get more back, but they didn't want to do it. The Jermaine Johnson one over the weekend, I was hunting on that because I had heard from a bunch of teams like they're listening on him. Quinnen, not so much. And people with the Jets kept putting it out to us like, yeah, we're not moving him unless it's for a boatload. So the fact that Dallas was able to come in, I think it was around Saturday night when conversations started to get serious, or even Sunday morning, where it was like, oh wait, Dallas may actually really do this, and give up a lot. And even talking to Jerry Jones recently about it, I mean, he loved telling us all like, I got the picks, I got them, I got the ammunition, and I want to do something with it. Everything it's funny. I kept getting questions from even like my editor. He's like, "Hey, you got these great on the record quotes from Jerry Jones. Do you believe him?" I'm like, I know, is that crazy? Like, I have to wonder if the owner's lying to me, but he didn't. He didn't lie. Like, he was like, I'm not going pass rush, and I'm gonna make moves. So it's like he's like, and I like to stir it up. So everything check, 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 and he did it. It's just I don't know what their plan is, but why don't we go back to the Jets real quick on the Quinnen thing, and then you want to talk a little Dallas here?
Well, yeah, because I mean Quinnen, and I hate that I keep kind of referencing it this way because I just don't think I think Sauce maybe has numbers this year that don't look as good. There's other numbers that do look good. The Aaron Glenn part of it is absolutely fascinating. I don't know if it means that Lou's going to use Sauce more in zone, which is probably more to his liking, and that they're like, hey, they're using him wrong, and Glenn wanted it to be somebody different. The Quinnen decline feels like it's a little bit more real. And he's expensive. If you talk time to pressure, it's gone down like 3 straight seasons. I still think he's a terrific player. Okay. But Dallas, like I was wondering, is everyone kind of on the same page? You need a zag here. There's no argument to understand the Parsons transaction in relation to Quinnen. There's none, especially once you realize that the Jets control, it's almost like the NBA swap here. They control the better of the 27 first rounders. Yep. So considering how massive that might be between where the Packers, which we would expect to still be good, the gap between who the Packers would be and then who the Cowboys would be, and then going, we'll take the better pick. Like that's the kind of movement that can cost you a first rounder in and of itself to move up to the 20s into say the teens. If the Cowboys are like, it could be even worse. So sure, Quinnen is less than Micah costs, but to brag about the Micah haul and then to flip it for Quinnen later on You use some of that money that you could have used in Micah and then have the 27 pick, the better one in the Jets' control. This is fucking stupid.
They don't think it is though, right? And look, they're dug in on it. They made the decision, and Jerry will tell you a million times he has no regrets. I got the picks. I'm not spending as much money, and they're gonna try to make and prove that this was the right move. But you break it down the way you just did, and most people that I was talking to trying to get some reaction to all this around the league yesterday look at it exactly the same. Like this is not a win in terms of if you want to compare it, because there is no comparison, and it's such a basic response. But my favorite thing people say is like, do you know what the Dallas Cowboys need? They need Micah Parsons. You know what I mean? And that this will just go down as one of those trades. And I just think the fact that we just don't know what the philosophy is there, especially when you have a front office, including Jerry, by the way, to give him the credit, that is drafts so well. And they built up this team really well based on the roster. Like Will McClay is definitely sitting there like, what the hell, man? Like, I've given you so many players. Why are we giving away so much? I can draft well. What we're giving this away to get Quinnen Williams right now is like, is this really going to move the needle for us? Is this really going to get us into the NFC Championship game? Based on the way I've seen this defense look, I don't think so. Like I don't think Logan Wilson is going to come in here, you know, a Dallas defense that struggles, and then they go, oh wait, let's go get a player from a worse defense. You know what I mean? Like let's go get Logan. I'm not sure what they were trying to do here. And look, they looked into a lot of other options too. You know, they called the Bengals about Trey Hendrickson. That was a name, by the way, that I did think would generate more heat. He cooled off in the last day or so. They were looking for a first rounder for him Monday afternoon. It was like 4:30. I was talking to someone like, they're still looking for a first rounder for him. This has got to drop. I do think it wound up getting down to about a second rounder, but no one took it. And so Trey Hendrickson's stuck there for the next half of the year in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the other part of it, and not to bring it back to Micah, but it makes sense in looking, okay, you brought this in, these are the arguments and whatever, but whatever you think of Micah, even okay, like you like Garrett better than him, fine. You like Max Crosby better than him, fine. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody would want TJ over him at this point. Bosa's injuries kind of take him out of the equation here a little bit. There's some other pass rushers that maybe for a year that we like, but like, what are we talking about? Third best at his position, and you can line up all over the place, and he's young, and he plays, and like, is he at worst a top 20 player in the NFL? And then you want to start getting cute about money. And I just don't have any sympathy for teams when it's like, okay, so whatever the structure of the deal is now, it's fine. But like in 2021, the NFL salary cap was 182.5 million. This year it's 279 million. So even to the Sauce contract, we're like, oh, well, the extension hasn't even kicked in. The Colts may look at that and going, hey, we really love this guy. We love the age. We love the certainty. Sure, it's a big price, but like we have him locked in at a number now that's not, it's not that it's in the 20s. It's that look at how much it declines versus what it is percentage of our total cap space. And that's kind of the Micah part of it, where it's like, all right, you don't like the money up front. You don't like the cash out. You don't like the 3 years that you're locked into this whole thing. But the NFL with this exploding business is created almost, this, it's not like a get out of jail free card, but like you can kind of screw up on a contract in a way the other sports you can't screw up on because of how like the cap number has absolutely exploded here in a very short amount of time.
Correct. Which is why the other big theme that you saw, like a little bit of a trend, and Philly probably more specifically, they ate a lot of money for better draft picks, right? When teams were making trades where they were willing to take on a lot of the contract, knowing that it's not a big deal, they can afford it. The salary cap's going up. And teams that smart teams were doing that in order to get better draft capital. But I will say this, for especially as somebody that's been so hard on the Jets, just because it hasn't been good, right? Like we reported a lot. I like the aggressiveness here, and I like the honesty that they're having, right? Because I think that's a big issue that teams go through is what are we really? And no one wants to just say the truth, which is we're not good. And we're not going to be good for a while because nobody wants to hear that. And no owner wants to hear it because most people in these positions in the general manager and head coaching roles aren't confident enough in their roles, but also just in the team's commitment to them to say it, to go, look, like we got to do a lot of things over the next few years because most owners aren't patient. So credit to the Jets for having the guts here to go, we need to make big moves here and take a couple swings to set this thing right. Because if we just keep treading water like this, we're all going to lose our jobs.
Yeah, I like it. Especially when you don't have the quarterback and you're like, we're not going to be good. And you could even apply that a little bit, even though this Dallas offense is terrific. Dak has been really good. You love the receivers, what they've done at running back, like the tight end, and they're just scoring all these points. But the record isn't very good. Nobody really thinks they're any kind of threat whatsoever. So it's like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you giving up this kind of capital for Quinnen, who may not even really be a need, even though, look, I like Quinnen Williams. I mean, if there's one part of this that I want to make clear is that I definitely like him.
It
On the
kind of reminds
Hendrickson note,
me, like,
oh, go ahead.
when you go to the casino and you hit and you got like a bunch of cash that you didn't start the day with, and you're like, oh, it's just house money. So you like I play roulette. Like I'll throw like $50 on one number, something I would never do. But because I have it, I'm like, yeah, why not? Like I think there's a little bit of that too in this for Jerry of like, well, I got these things, I gotta do something with it. I'm getting older. I can't just sit on these things. I'm not saying that's what he did, but it made me think of it yesterday. I'm like, man, he's playing roulette the way I do, which is not good, by the way.
Yeah, what's the deadline? Like, hey, let's do something. Well, I don't know. This one's really, really tough to justify, I think, in connection with the Parsons thing, which we've covered. You mentioned Hendrickson as a name. I don't know if we're allowed to get a little irresponsible here. I don't want you to get yourself in trouble. But were there any other names that at least people were saying, hey, this could be in play that didn't happen?
Yeah, there's names and teams, right? I think the pass rush position was a need for everybody. Buffalo was poking around on wide receiver all day. They were trying to make something happen. In terms of player, yes, Trey Hendrickson definitely leads the pack for me in my mind. Jermaine Johnson, I know the Bears were trying to get something done there. That even close to the deadline, it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock. I was talking to somebody who was like, "This, be ready for this. This could happen." And then the Jets decided to stay pat on it because they weren't getting the second rounder that they were looking for. I think AJ Brown had the biggest name in this trade deadline from a Philly was so strong about letting everyone know we are not moving him. We love him. We need him. But it was so hard to gauge what was the reality, just knowing how miserable the player's been, right? Like all you have to do is go to his Instagram and you can pretty much read the tea leaves here, which is he was fed up with everyone and everything with the way the offense was running, and look, there's a couple conversations that you could have in relation to AJ Brown. One of it being, what is he so upset about? Coming off the Minnesota game, he's got 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. He wants to be part of this offense consistently throughout, right? He doesn't want to just be used, to use his word, right? When they need him. So how do you fix that? And if you have a disgruntled wide receiver, which we've seen a million times in our careers, right? Where, they want the ball more. How do you manage those personalities and keep him happy? Which is why I kept watching that. I know Philadelphia fans were getting frustrated with some of my reporting on it because I've seen this happen a million times where the player pushes enough that whether or not financially it works or doesn't, teams will just go, I'm done with this. You are a cancer. This is not helping us. And I'm not saying AJ Brown's a cancer, but how much can they manage there? And lucky for AJ and really lucky for Howie Roseman, Philly's good at one thing, and that's dealing with drama, right? They've done very well with that over the last year. They did it last year, and they won a Super Bowl. AJ Brown wasn't happy last year, right? So we'll see what happens in the offseason. But that was a name that I think, look, I knew it was a very small shot they were going to move him, but I thought maybe it would get hot depending on what the relationship was between the player and the team.
Just an aside on like the AJ Brown thing, why is anyone acting like this is some secret? I mean, this has been going on now for a little while. You know what I also started thinking about leading up to this trade deadline with just, whatever stuff I was reading. It's not like I'm talking to anybody, but when he read the book on the sideline and then it got pivoted into this is just a way that he resets his mind and the book has really helped him. And then it was hilarious because then the author was like crushing it because everybody started buying the book and the whole thing. I just couldn't help myself like months removed from that. If like AJ Brown wasn't sitting there talking with his buddies being like, I was doing that strictly just to like, I'm reading a book during the game. And then somehow it gets packaged into some sort of feature on these pregame shows of like, yeah, man, this is because it's actually still, I think, kind of fucked up.
It is really fucked up. Like that is a distraction. Like most organizations would be like, yeah, you're not going to be part of this. This is selfish, right? But I think,
yeah, and again, like it's not like some people.
but he's that
listen to
good. No, that's the problem.
Right? Like it's how selfish is it if it's helping him with his mental health and all this? It's like, yeah, but like, imagine if just a bunch of dudes just started reading books all the time, be like, oh, I've got this new Philbrick. Killer.
Remember, like Odell was like kicking nets and stuff, and we were like, "Get him out of New York!" Like like it's like so stupid. Like the
net kicked him back or it headbutted him.
Yeah, yeah. Did he get? He got like hurt, right? Or he didn't get.
Well,
Like,
I don't think he got
seriously
hurt.
hurt,
It
was
didn't
like,
work
funny.
out for him.
It didn't work
yeah,
out.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
I just think with the AJ Brown situation, it's kind of like just watching, it's just boiling up, and he's allowed it to explode, and they know it. And you're right. Like I don't think people in Philly are blind to it. I think they're in denial, right? They don't want to see it because nobody wants to see this offense without AJ Brown. After Lane Johnson, he's the best player, right? On offense. Like I'd say AJ Brown is without a doubt their best player after Lane.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Saquon's in the conversation.
Not this
Or are
year.
you just going on 25 and the fact that it's
Yeah,
just not what
I
it
don't
was?
know. That'd be interesting.
I mean, we're just talking best player.
But
Like we
yeah,
have to
either way,
mention
who cares?
Saquon.
Like we're not like
Right.
annoyed. Either way,
Right.
he's crucial, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So look, we'll see how they manage it, but it definitely would have been the headline if they decided to move him.
Were you surprised that Arizona went with Brissett in the way that they did, and that they were like, "Hey, even if Kyler's healthy, Brissett's going to be the starter"?
Something's so weird there, right? Like something's not right in Arizona.
Well, they had the out. They could have not said it that way
Yeah.
and yet still believed it.
Yeah. Like doesn't that tell you, like going back
It
to
tells
what we
me.
said,
It tells me a
like,
lot.
yeah, like we're like, why do we do this? Like if we can see it, it's probably happening. And there's probably something wrong. Like that's not the normal way you do it if you think that he's the best player for your team to play quarterback. And look, Jacoby Brissett's done a really good job, and you look at him, I can't believe we're even saying this in 2025 that Jacoby Brissett did a really good job over Kyler Murray, who when he is healthy and it is working, he's electric, right? He's a good quarterback when it's coming together and it's right. But there's always been something with him internally in the building that it's I don't know if it's being a teammate. I don't know if it's his habits. I don't know if it's the job of playing quarterback, right? You always hear coaches talk about that. Like you have to know how to be the guy in that position because it comes with more than just understanding the playbook. But it definitely feels off there in terms of what this regime wants. And if they're going to be committed to him, I'd be interested to see what they do this offseason, what he would be worth,
Yeah, and the numbers are, I mean, whether it's eye test or numbers, they're better on third down. They're scoring 5 more points per game. McBride has been different. Marvin Harrison has been completely different. And, it's kind of interesting too, because when you take out Kyler's rushing stats for the team on the yards per carry, it's not like they're this threatening run team, and yet Dallas is just going for play action all night against them, and they just dominated that part of the game against them. So I guess I'm always a little surprised in the massaging of the decision. Like we can all sit there and say, "Hey, man, it looks like Brissett's just been steadier." This Kyler thing, there were some early years where I thought, "Hey, this guy's making throws that there's just not a very long list of people that can pull some of this stuff off." There was that season where it felt like the only reason they were in these games or having these big moments at the end was just sheerly based on his talent with not a great roster. I'm over like all the early immaturity stuff. Like it doesn't really matter. But the fact is, like he'll take hits that you can't believe he got hurt on. And then it's not like, hey, I'm going to be limping around next quarter. It's like I'm going to be out for a month. And it would make sense based on his frame. And so, looking at the money, they're still into a lot of money. There's like a $50 million number going into, I think, 26. And then maybe after that, they can get out of this kind of thing. But that was
He's got
something
2
that,
years of guaranteed money left. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Next year's number is like really big. So it also talks about like from the trade, like that's the other thing that'll happen is you would think if you've turned the page from him as an organization, and then you're thinking like, okay, well, we have to trade him. Then you're almost making excuses for him to sort of retain some sort of value if you were going to talk to other teams about it. So I'm not saying it was like, I appreciate the honesty, but I was surprised at the transparency.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that around where people like look at Dan Quinn the other day, just straight up was like, "Yep, I messed that up." Which
All right, so I know you have something on that, so let's talk about that with Daniel's injury.
well, I think there's a lot to it. Well, there's a lot, but there's not a lot, right? This is obviously a bad decision. He admitted it. We don't have to debate why he did it. We know that he made the wrong call. The reason why they did it, from what I understand, though, was to give the offense some confidence, not in this game. Like this is about like just trying to find a rhythm, and they just felt like they were so disjointed. Again, I'm just sharing why they did it. I don't agree with it. It's stupid. Like you think you need to find rhythm in your offense in the fourth quarter when you're down 4 scores? Like that, this doesn't make any sense to me. It's funny. I was talking to my co-host on Scoop City, Chase Daniel, about it, and is the backup quarterback perspective so funny to me. He's like, in a game like that, like I'm warmed up, like I'm going in. Like you don't think you're not going in. Any other time, 9 times out of 10, you're going in. And so he was just saying, like, if it's a 3-score game, he understood why they kept him in. But 4-score, like this is stupid. That's just dumb. And look, that's something Dan Quinn has to deal with now. But also, I think you also you have to take into account, and even just talking to friends of mine that live in Washington, like everyone's got PTSD so bad from RG3, like another injury against Seattle, and it feels like a long time ago, and it was, but that was the last time Washington felt like this, where Washington felt like they were a true contender with a quarterback, and now he goes and gets hurt because the coach kept him in too long again. Like, really, we're doing this? So unfortunately, I just think this is the second year quarterback syndrome, and this isn't on Jayden. I just think collectively Washington's just too old. They didn't make a lot of good decisions in terms of the roster, and they've got injuries. So this is the bad vibes team for me, probably after Miami for this year.
Mike Sano had this note yesterday on his piece in the Athletic, and looking back, like running through the true media game scenarios. So 6th time over the past 5 regular seasons that a team trailing by exactly 31 points took possession between 13 and 12 minutes remaining in regulation. Per true media, in the other 5 cases, coaches for the trailing teams did not make quarterback changes for that drive, including when Sean Payton left Nixon for a game last season in a 41-10 loss to Baltimore.
Wait, so that's in favor of Dan Quinn's decision making?
Yeah. And I knew, like, look, you can make a Jayden argument specific to Jayden where it's like he's already been dealing with injuries.
Got 2 bummed legs. He's a scrambler. Yep.
I do wonder if Quinn believed it, because history tells us that actually you do leave the quarterback in. And, it's the prime time part of it. And if I've learned anything about this business, it's no one loves anything more than, hey, the person that has this job that's supposed to know everything may look stupid and I may look smarter.
Yes.
So it was just universal praise of like, Quinn's a moron. And it was also a very freaky injury, but because it was prime time, because if it's a 1 o'clock window, this is not getting even close to the amount of tension. It's like, oh, what happened? Oh, he got hurt. Oh, that's ugly. I mean, it's obviously really, really gross, but I think history tells us we're lying to ourselves if we think that every other quarterback is yanked in that situation.
I hear you. I just think, and you made the point a minute ago, I just think who it is. change the way you handle it. That's all. It's the style of
Agreed.
quarterbacking he does. This isn't Jared Goff. Like I'm just trying to think of someone that likes, a different type of sit in the pocket type of quarterback. Like this guy is athletic as hell and is making moves with his legs all day long, which is going to put him at risk all the time. So, yes, history says it. I just don't necessarily agree it was the best thing, not trying to pile on to Dan Quinn because it takes a lot to go out there and own that, by the way. Like, I don't know. I don't know a lot of coaches that would have done that. Maybe he had it though, right? It's like at this point, what else is he can't defend?
It was smart. It was smart to own it because even if he didn't believe it, then it adds on a whole other layer. It's like, oh, what's up with this guy?
Isn't
Why?
that like
Why
the
would he?
lesson in life though? Like people just want to hear you eat it. They just want to hear you say it. That's what I've learned. That's why I'm so quick to be like, yeah, I fucked up, right? Because they want to watch you just like even just like in reporting, like I've made mistakes, especially early on. I've had to go on TV and be like, I got that wrong, and then everyone gets off you. But if you just stick with it, then everyone just wants to tear you down all the time.
Hey, we appreciate it. Make sure you check out Rossini's column every Saturday morning for all of your NFL information and I'd say get some rest, but I know you're not going to.
Oh yeah, it's the story of like insiders not sleeping is getting old. We sleep. Congratulations on the show. Congratulations to your whole crew. I just want to get on life advice once. I know I don't bug you too much on things. I never have you come on my shows and stuff just because I just don't do that. I don't like to ask people I care about to do stuff like that like you do. So I don't know. Just thought maybe a life advice segment one day because I love talking about all this stuff, especially now that like I'm old. Like I've lived through a lot of things I want to share.
I think you'd be great at it. I would just tell you, we keep planning on having Michelle Smallman on. So if you hear Smallman before you, it has nothing to do with that we weren't going to use you. It's just that that was a promise that was made. And for whatever reason, it hasn't happened yet. She's just so busy 5 days a week now. She's a 5 days a week gal.
Yeah, she's busy. I understand that though. I think the listeners want to hear her first. My advice, by the way, I wasn't saying that because I have good advice. I just like to share the ridiculous things that I've decided in mind. In fact, I'm an example of what not to do. That's why you should have me on. But all right, I look forward to hearing Michelle. But for real, congrats. I'm so happy for you guys. You deserve all the success, and I hope you guys continue to dominate.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
It's official. The Big Shack is out now. I tried it just 2 days ago, and it lives up to the name. It's a serious burger, 2 Angus beef patties, 3 buns, new secret sauce. It's stacked, balanced, and built the right way. You get everything you expect from Shake Shack, fresh ingredients, that toasted potato bun, and sauce that pulls the whole thing together. For $9.99, it's kind of wild how much burger you're getting, especially one that doesn't taste like typical fast food. It's big, it's fresh, and it's legit one of their best burgers yet. I got to be honest with you. I've been around for a lot of the Shake Shack timeline. I remember the first time I was like, wait, this is allowed? We're allowed to have it taste this good and come out this quickly? I was even the voice of the Buffalo Chicken thing. Buffalo Shack. That was me. It was like, man, that sounds familiar. That guy's usually just giving us great NBA takes. Is he talking about spicy chicken too? Well, now I'm talking about burgers, and I'm talking about multiple patties, and I'm talking about the middle bun in there, the foundation, the just putting up the forms and pouring it. That's what that middle bun is doing. It was incredible having the smell of Shake Shack in my house for an entire day and starting on a Monday morning, and I loved it. I don't want to tell you, it took a little long in getting the boxes out of here, but it's just something about it. It inspires me. If you've been waiting to see what all the hype's about, today's the day. Go to Shake Shack and order the Big Shack. Sounds familiar, made different. He was, I don't want Herb Street to get jealous, but our guy here was going to be our first guest on the Ryen Russillo show here. But he had a game. He had a big game. It's Adrian Wojnarowski, who is the general manager of St. Bonaventure's men's basketball team. And he's also the host of a podcast because he just can't leave this media stuff behind him. The Program with Woj. Please subscribe to that and check out the first few episodes. It is great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Ryan, it's great to see you. Great to be with you. And it's great to be 1-0. I'll tell you that.
Okay,
Most
so
of all.
look, the announcement is just over a year old, right? You're leaving ESPN. You're going to a place that I know you love dearly, and we're going to get into that a little bit. So what's this year been like for you?
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. Just being certainly back on campus, spending the time that you do with our players and our guys, and then this university that I love, and met my wife here, and her side of the family all went here. And so it's a special place, but it's a challenge. This job is, especially in this climate for schools like St. Bonaventure, it's a challenge. It's like putting a puzzle together. But I love it. And it's fun, Ryan, to at 56 years old, really learn something entirely new and sort of take the things that, I think are helpful from the job I used to do, that helped me in this, but then kind of also recognize you've got blind spots and you've got a lot to learn. And that's been a ton of fun.
So, you've spent your life watching sports. I know that you had a bit more of a diversity of background on like some of the sports that you covered, and like you were up grassroots, like grinding local newspaper and all that kind of stuff. But then you become the most powerful person in information when it comes to the NBA. And I know that I remember the Tate George draft pick. I was like, hey, I watched this guy all the years. Like, he's not an NBA player. I can't believe they drafted him. Like, nice shot against Clemson, but like, come on, you're gonna be kidding me. So I think those of us that spend our lives watching this sport assume that we think we can evaluate talent. So did you think that you could evaluate talent while you were also covering this league?
No, but I think that what I thought I could do, and what I thought that would certainly be something that would be helpful to me, was that having been around two things I thought that I had coming into this job: the kind of people, the kind of players who are successful, and who they are and who's around them and what they're about, like as people. And then the kind of people who fit at St. Bonaventure. And for us, that's gym rats. That's guys who love to play. There's no distractions at our place. It's probably, I think it's a lot like being at UVM. If you're looking for a third thing, we don't have it. You're going to go to school, you're going to play ball, and we've got a great coach and an incredible environment to play college basketball in a great league in the A10. But there's no question, and that's kind of the blind spots of learning curve. And so what I tried to do, Ryan, is kind of come into this really humble at that. And, initially, come in with players or things, hey, I think this might be a fit for us. And you go to an assistant and sit down and talk about, hey, why that's not a fit for us. Being at practice every day really helps to see. It's one thing to be able to, I used to watch all the games at Bonaventure. Being at practice every day to see who can play for Coach Schmidt here. But then really leaning on people who know I'm not that smart, Ryan, but I do know a lot of smart people. And so sharing tape and getting evaluations from folks in the NBA. I'll give you an example. When we're recruiting international players, especially, there's European scouts or outside of Europe or wherever we are in the world. If you're a good enough player for St. Bonaventure, if you're good enough for us to want to be able to recruit, there are evaluations on you with incredible intel that NBA teams have. So being able to get access to those and, especially to learn about guys' backgrounds, who they are, if there's any red flags, and, you're just trying to eliminate people. And then, spending a lot of time watching guys. And so we're excited about the group we put together. And then the other thing, Ryan, is we all can tell who the good players are, but it's in context of what we can afford, trying to put a payroll together. And, we've got a guy, Caden Charles from Division II, North Georgia, who's starting for us. I had, when we signed him and recruited him, I thought he'd be a guy that would practice hard every day, high character guy, had done a lot of winning in Division II. I didn't imagine he would be a starter for us. And he comes out against Bradley and goes for 15-8, 3 steals. And, you feel good about, hitting on some guys, but I was never, I'll say this, Ryan, I never imagined doing anything but what I did. I only ever imagined being a sports writer, and then what it all turned into. I wasn't one of those guys like, oh, hey, I want to go work for a team. It didn't seem interesting to me. I didn't feel particularly qualified to do that. I loved what I did, but coming to Bonaventure when I did with what's going on in the world, I thought I could help. And I would only have done it for Bonaventure, and I don't aspire to be anywhere else.
Then why did you do it?
Two things. I was done with the other thing. I just felt I had done everything I wanted to do as an insider in media. It kind of felt like the same thing over and over. It didn't feel particularly challenging anymore. I'm not saying it wasn't hard and you don't have incredible competition, but I never felt like I was challenging myself. And it started to feel a little like rinse and repeat. And, for me, I really felt it in the last year. And the best reason I could think of staying to do it was the money. And the money wasn't a good enough reason for me.
All right, that's clear. Let's go back to something you said that I think is really interesting here, though, because you're connected to everybody. So are you talking about help with evaluations with not just only your own staff, but I'm sure there's some of these GMs you've known for decades. There's probably scouts and coaches you've known for decades. Do you ask them, hey, what do you think of this guy? Or are there times where they're watching somebody internationally, they go, hey, you know what? Like, this guy's not good enough to be drafted. He's probably looking for a landing spot in the States to go to school for a couple of years. Is that part of what happens here?
Yeah, I would say it's more me going to them with players and, hey, what do you think? And sharing, video and, whatever information I might have to get an evaluation and see, am I missing something here? Again, Ryan, we've got to do it differently at St. Bonaventure. If we're in it with a bunch of, I'm going to necessarily say high majors, but mid-major pluses who have a lot more money than us, I'm probably moving out of it quick. You got to find the guys who value growth, development, who aren't as worried about maybe the first paycheck as they are what our environment can help them get to. And then you're also looking at agents and folks around the world who care, and the people in their life who care about what our environment is. Small school, but in the 6th or 7th ranked league in any given year in the Atlantic 10, but you're coming to a school with 2,000 students. You're going to have a pro day, which no other mid-major is doing, like we did this year in New York City. Had 23, 24 NBA teams there. And it doesn't mean you're going to get drafted. That doesn't mean I have some magic dust I can sprinkle and get somebody I have a relationship with in the league to draft you. That's not going to happen. But it's about opportunity, exposure, and then also learning like how much further you have to go. And, the NBA stuff, I mean, that might mean, can I help you get a summer league invite? Can I help you get workouts with an NBA team pre-draft? Can I help you get into Portsmouth or Chicago pre-draft? There's more than just, are you one of the 60 players on draft night? Obviously, there's very few guys who get that, especially out of college basketball. Almost half the draft is outside of college hoop now. So all those things are helpful. And, but yeah, there's no question that for us and for what I'm doing here, you try to find the advantages where you can. And I've been all over the world. I think sometimes about like football and like, if I had to recruit a class of 30 guys, it seems insurmountable, but it's basketball and we need like 8 or 9 who can really play. And somewhere on this planet, I know that within our price range, what we can afford, we can put a team out there that's really competitive in the A10. I think we've done that this year. I think people saw that a little bit opening day against, a really good Bradley team. And so, the way I did my previous job and the way I evolved in that industry, I tried to do things different. I tried to look at things in a different way, coming from small newspapers, coming from a website at Yahoo that was, just starting up in sports at the time. And I'm approaching it the same way here.
when you're talking about fit, like you say, hey, we know who can play. So like you can look at the 5 stars, you can go to the camps, and you can just go, okay, here with my staff, let's go down this list and then cross off all of these people, because it's probably just a waste of time for you. It's a waste of even pretending that you can compete with the NIL. How do you put together a plan of like who's obtainable, but yet also still fits and understands like we're not one of the power fours. We're not probably a place that you're coming for one and done. So even though, you, speaking of you, like I have all this notoriety, like this is not the kind of program that we're able to run. So how do you balance fit versus just the talent guys that everybody could decide that they would want?
Yeah, and I think like the camps, the summer evaluation camps have very little value for us anymore. We're recruiting so few high school guys. Some of the high school guys you're just recruiting them from when they're in the portal. I can build a relationship with them. I can get to know them. We're offering you, but we know you may take more NIL to go to a high major, but we also know the statistics say you're probably going to move on at least once in your career. And so I spend time with players that I know I'm not going to get now, but in a year or two, when they're in the portal, maybe they visited campus. Maybe they came to our pro day in New York. They got to know us. And so that has value. I look at it that way. I thought about a little bit in the NBA where guys, they're not drafting high enough to be able to pick a player, but they're able to get 30 minutes with him at the pre-draft camp, interviewing him, and they get a window into him and he gets a window into them for later on. That's important. But I mean, just you look at our starting lineup right now, Ryan, our point guard, Desante Bowen, started at Iowa, transferred to Bonaventure, got injured last year, redshirted, preseason, second team, maybe a little more traditional, was like a top 75 high school player in Boston. Our shooting guard, Buddy Simmons, who had a great game 24 against Bradley, probably one of the most undervalued guys in the portal, came from Gardner-Webb, where he averaged almost 18 a game, had a 40-point game, had 22 on Tennessee, was really efficient. And in the end, even in his recruitment, was under-recruited again out of the portal because he's 5'11", and he's going to be terrific for us. Our three-man is a Division II player from North Georgia, who I found out about on a Saturday, talked to him on a Sunday, and had it done on a Monday. Minimal NIL, just an incredible kid, family, winner, but a Division II player who we didn't know what to expect when he came in, and he is starting for us, goes for 15-8-3 against a really physical, good Bradley team. Our four-man is Joe Grahovic, junior college player from California, who played 2 games of high school basketball, didn't go to school for 5 or 6 years after, played at 24/7 Fitness, played in the Drew League, worked in a warehouse, worked baling hay, worked as a sander, every blue-collar job you can imagine, and then goes to Fullerton College last year. I would be out there. I would let you know, Ryan, hey, I'm out in LA again. I'm out in California. I went from staying at that Ritz downtown where they would keep us for ESPN down to the Fullerton Marriott. It was great. And Chase and Joe in a recruitment, but played 1 year at JC basketball. He's 24 years old. We got in early with him and then held off a lot of big schools in the end because we built a relationship. And I think he really valued a smaller school, a place where he trusted, knew the people. And then our center, Frank Mitchell, was a hockey player in Canada, was working construction, gets laid off during COVID, goes to the park and starts playing basketball, plays 1 year at a JUCO in Canada, goes to Canisius, goes to Minnesota. And he comes back to us, a Canadian kid. We're 90 minutes from the border. He's going to be a double-double guy for us. So you can go through the list. It is a non-traditional group. Yet I think, and then you go down a little further down our bench, and I think we have guys who, their paths are a little different. And then the international players, 2 from Italy and 1 from Russia. And I think the Italian players were very highly recruited, and so wasn't Ilya Ermakov, the point guard from Moscow. Those guys were high major recruits. what you're selling them, Ryan, is a chance to come and play, get an opportunity right away. It may not be a 4-year situation, but I think agents, especially, they see going to that high major and not playing at all initially isn't that helpful. And if you come to a place like Bonaventure in the Atlantic 10, Melvin Council last year for us comes from Wagner, comes to Bonaventure. He leaves for an incredible opportunity, incredible money at Kansas, and so we're a trampoline in that way. But I think the international players are going to be huge for us. In Canada, we got 3 from Canada. We're obviously right near the border. We're spending a lot of time there. And then internationally, when I go over there, I do see, I'm like this 1990s rock band that no one talks about in the US anymore, but somehow you're in Europe and they're filling a stadium, or they're like number 11 on the charts, and you're like, I haven't heard the song in 20 years. That's kind of like what I am walking around Europe. So I'm going to try to ride that as long as I can.
Okay. I think there's a follow-up in there with that, but I want to stay at least on the roster building for one more question. What do you understand about the NIL now that you've been in it that you didn't understand prior to being a part of this?
If it's the first thing somebody brings up, it's going to be a quick conversation with me, because the way I see it and the way it has to work for St. Bonaventure is, let's figure out if we're a fit. Let's figure out, let me get to know you, and why don't you get to know us? Figure out all the things that go into style of play, who we are as a school, what we can do, all of those things. And then if we both really like each other, then let's figure out the money. Let's figure out if we can get there. Too many of the conversations start opposite that. And you get on with an agent or somebody, and the first thing they say is, well, what can you pay? And you're like, what can I pay? I watched the 5-minute clip that was posted. I looked at his stats and his numbers. I'm calling you to kind of see where your process is. He hasn't talked to us. I haven't talked to him. I don't know anybody around him yet. And when it's that kind of initial call, you just go, we're probably not going to be the place. And that doesn't mean we have to be competitive financially. And I spend every day, most of my day, on money and trying to raise it and trying to be creative with it and trying to stretch the money we do have. But you better find value for people well beyond just the money. And that's what I try to do in our environment, is to give guys and their families my time and, like a full investment, whether they're going to be here 1 year or 2 years. Like, I'm going to try to put people in their lives, on the court, off the court, that they can take with them and get a lot of value and know that they can still call on me for stuff. That's how we have to do it. Because if it's just about the money, like, I'm probably trying to move off that one quick.
You left this job where, I'm glad that you'll admit some of the stuff, because I think sometimes you're a little too humble with the answers, but you're just a rock star, a global rock star for NBA fans. I still don't even know what that China thing was, but I loved the logo. I forget what it was called. But the first time I saw that, I was like, this is amazing.
Woj in the house. Woj in the house. Yeah, that's what it was called.
If we go back to February of this year, February 1st, and the Luka trade's announced, in that moment, did you miss it?
No. I'll tell you what I was doing. I live over a bar, as you might have heard. And we had, a guy that the big guy from California, Joe Grahovic, was coming in that weekend for his visit. It was Super Bowl Sunday. And we were playing at noon, which is a brutal time to play a college basketball game, because sort of your fans who travel in from Buffalo, Rochester, they're going to have Super Bowl parties. Maybe they're not coming in as easily. The students, maybe people go home. You're just trying to make sure that place is packed. And we had put so much time into Joe. I was there, like I said, there's like a big student bar downstairs where I hung out in. All my friends hung out in, but I just have an apartment over it. I never go in there, especially when there's people in there. Just, you can't be the old guy like wandering around the student bar. But I did go in I was just recruiting kids to go to the game Sunday. So I don't know if that was a Thursday night or a Friday night. I don't remember what night it was, but I remember I stopped in there and I was just like, hey, are we going to see you Sunday? We need you there. And for like 5 minutes. And I went upstairs and I got a couple texts. I don't know, might have been like midnight or 11:30. I don't remember.
It was late. It was really late. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I got a couple texts about it and I just shut my phone off and went to bed. I would just say, Ryan, like, it just felt like I've done it, right? One trade's bigger than the other. I get it. If I wanted to still be doing it, I'd be doing it. And the time so much of that job it's not necessarily chasing the story. It's if you've got it pretty wired when it's either happening or you're waiting for it to be completed, you're waiting for the team to tell the player, you're waiting for the team to tell the agent, you're waiting for the owner to get found because nobody knows whatever it is. So much of that job is waiting, and it's sort of paralyzing to your life. You have to be, you just sort of sit very often in this concrete room off the studio, and a lot of your life is just spent alone, waiting to tell producers you've got what the big thing is. Typically, now that one I'm not saying they don't come out of the blue, because that one probably, I don't know the process of it exactly, but I would say in most cases, I would generally have had an idea if something was in the works. I'm not saying I would have on that one, but you're charting a million different things all the time. And I think there just comes a point where you say, I just don't want to spend my time on it anymore. Somebody has to. And, I did the piece with, Mannix at SI, and there was a quote where I said something about breaking news is a vapor, and in the end, nobody gives a shit. What I didn't mean that the job isn't really important. If you're at ESPN and you've got the rights to the NBA, the NFL, college football, you better own the news. You better own it. And that's why they brought me to ESPN, because they didn't own the news before we got there. And so, but what I'm saying is, for me, it just didn't feel important to me anymore. And so, the big trades come and go. And it's funny, I'll hear from Schefter or I'll hear from Thamel when they're sitting on something big. And, they're there waiting for it to come. And I'll get a text from one of those guys. They're passing like, hey, just be glad you're, like, I know you're glad you're not doing this right now. And again, you're really lucky to get to do that job. They pay a lot of money. You get famous. I'm not complaining about it, but I just had done it, Ryan, as long as I think you're meant to do it. I was 55. I'd done it a long time. And I'm like, am I supposed to just do this forever? Am I supposed to, because as long as someone will pay me all this money, am I supposed to just keep doing this? And like I said, I never imagined doing something else. And I think if the Bonaventure thing, where I started thinking about that, if that wasn't there, I probably would have stayed maybe another year at ESPN. And if I did, it would have been a big mistake. I would have regretted it.
I know I've talked to you about this, whenever we've hung out a little bit, because it's almost like a hard thing when you're competitive to even give up the belt. Like, I have the belt, but you're also explaining like, all right, I've done it. Like, I've maximized this. I don't even know what another level is. And then you have this thing that I know that you're in love with, kind of drawing you to like this whole reinventing yourself. But is it when you're in that life, you realize it sucks, or now that you've been out of it for a year, you realize it sucks even more than you thought it did?
It's a bubble. Being out of it, you realize what a bubble you lived in. And I really see how it affected my family and being around me. And I think just how unappealing it was to be around me as I did that job. I don't know how my wife did it for as long as she did, or my kids. You're there, but you're not there. You're present. Even when you're there, you've got your, half your brain is percolating with these other things that are all going on. And you're just trying to do simple things that if you really want to try to be dominant at it, that you just have to not do and not be a part of. And once I didn't have to live, now I worry about 100 other things now. Like I'm worried now about an X-ray. I'm worried about an MRI, literally today. I'm worried about somebody's grades. I'm worried about somebody's family member who's not doing well, and how it affects the guys that we have and all those things. So it's not like you don't, but like I could shut my phone off. Like I turned my phone off for as long as we're here, and I'm not worried I turn it back on. I would never do that. And, you're always flying like, 6 a.m. flights or red eye flights. And again, I don't mean to complain. Like the media business is brutal. And I look at people who are so talented and have had incredible careers. And this thing is getting away from the thing, like it's getting away from them. It's harder and harder to find good jobs in the business. And so I'm not complaining about it, but I just know, all that said, I did it for as long as I felt I was supposed to do it. I just felt like it just felt like the same thing over and over, not that challenging. I'm not saying it wasn't like super competitive and hard. It was, but I like bounce out of bed every day to do this job. Like I wake up earlier than I ever woke up to get in here. And I definitely didn't feel like that at the end at ESPN.
Do people still check in with you about like, hey, do you know if they'd move this guy, or do you still have NBA people reaching out to you, following up on something maybe they're wondering about?
No, I do get once in a while, this person well, can you feel this out? I still get a couple of those. The calls I still get and still talk to a lot of the same folks that I always did were more just how you doing. And they're very curious about what's going on here, how I'm enjoying it. And I call with questions. I call with like medical questions about an injury and can you ask your trainer, or can you connect me with your trainer or your sports performance person on how they handle this, or, any number of things, negotiations, contracts. I go from being like a sports writer pretending to be a GM to now a GM pretending to be a lawyer, a trainer, because there's all these areas that you've got to be fluent in. And so I'm always calling guys and asking them about how they approach things. But the agents and guys I've known, like they may not be dealing with the college player, but somebody in their orbit at their company is, and they're trying to be helpful with us and help us find guys. And that's been a great part of this, is how much people have wanted to help us and help me. That doesn't mean like someone can just hand you something. It's still business. There's still a marketplace. But at times it helps to open some doors, and, but I still talk to, you and I have a lot of common friends in the league. I think they would tell you, it's not the everyday thing it used to be. There were a couple guys who had trades. I laughed last spring. My Twitter there's no NBA on my Twitter. It's just college. I
unfollowed.
I've muted. I wouldn't unfollow my friends, but I definitely muted them. I just want it's like college basketball recruiting, NIL stuff, Bruce Springsteen, Save Democracy. Like that's my feed right now. So, but I would still be on email lists for teams. Like you get the press release, and those things come out like 3 days after a trade's reported, right? By the time the physicals. And I did laugh last year. There were a couple of times where on my personal account, I got the email about a trade that happened 3 or 4 days earlier. And it was the first I knew about it. And a couple of times I did text a guy going, I would have been talking to you every 5 minutes for 6 days before this deal. And I just found out about 5 minutes ago. And so, but I would tell you very quickly, like it felt normal. And it just felt like I made the right decision for me, for my family. I'm just invested in this place. I'm invested like so much more in the results of what we're doing, the lives of the guys we have, and more than like, are we going to drive a ratings point this week because we talked 5 days on the Lakers? Like not terribly inspiring to me anymore. but someone's got to do it, and God bless those guys for still doing it.
Couple more thoughts here before we finish up, but the thing that you just finished on has always kind of been what I think would draw in anyone is that, I mean, you have to be really competitive to accomplish what you accomplished in your world. But I would argue, like, hey, all the hours of watching and on the phone and all these different things, and it's like, okay, for what though? Because I tweeted it out 30 seconds before the other guy did, and to then pivot into, well, it's still the same field, although I'm attacking it from a different way. Like, all the hours you're putting in now, you're putting in for a community, you're putting in for a win or a loss, you're putting it in for kids. And whether that's at professional level or college level, obviously the kids changes the dynamic there at the NBA level. That, I think, is the thing that is always really appealing to anybody that loves this sport. That it's like, what if I spent all of this time working towards something that everybody could be proud of, as opposed to, like, kind of to your point, this imaginary win. Like, yeah, maybe technically it's a win because I got this huge story first, but no one cares tomorrow. No one will remember tomorrow. That's where I think the transition into that side of it, granted it's a massive pay cut. That's the part that I completely understand, because that's the part that I think about sometimes.
Yeah, like, I don't know where St. Bonaventure would be in 10 years if we're not in the Atlantic 10. This basketball is so important to this school, and it has been, and it's what brings back all of our alumni. We only have 2,000 students. We have like 30,000 living alumni. There's a school or two in the Atlantic 10 that have almost as many students. So multiply that. So fundraising, all that is difficult, but like, just something like, we were down at the Field of 68 Monday morning, 11 a.m., second college game of the day. And that place was packed with Bonnie's fans. And our players, like, as much as we told them this is what it's like when you travel, to hear the whole place chanting, let's go Bonnies in the final minute of a win against a really good team. Like, you feel a part of something, and it's fun. And I believe strongly that if we aren't competitive in basketball, if we're not in this fight, now, does that mean, like, we got to go to the NCAA tournament? I mean, it's really hard to do. The Atlantic 10's become, in the last few years, a one-bid league, which is crazy to me, given we're the 6th-ranked league in the country. But it sort of shows you how the high majors have gobbled up sort of this thing. To me, you feel like you're fighting for the school, and this is a really difficult time. And how do we stay in this fight financially with rev share, NIL, in a league where, we have schools with high major resources in our league, and we've got to figure out, how do we have high major players on mid-major money? And that's sort of my challenge, or our challenge, every day. And so I don't feel like I've got a bunch of answers, Ryan, on how to do this. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to contribute here the best I can. And but I haven't looked back once and said, I wish I was still doing it. I miss people. I talk to the guys and the people I worked with often. They're friends and all over the NBA, but there's not been one moment where I said I long for that. And I think I did it just long enough. I just think I did it long enough. And Lee Jenkins had a great line to me when I was asking him about we were talking about potentially doing this. And he said, I mean, Lee was at the top of our profession. Lee's probably, to me, he's the best sports writer of my generation. And he went to the Clippers, and he stayed at the Clippers, and he's had a chance to come back to media at high levels, and he stayed there. And the one thing he said to me that stuck was, it's okay to say you did it. You don't have to do it forever. And I feel that even more strongly now that I'm here. And I don't know how long. I'm committed to being here, and I want us to be successful. Who knows how long I do it, but I love every day of it. And, people that I care about, who are important in my life, care about this place. And so that's enough for me.
It was funny earlier in this, Woj, when you were kind of like laying out the plan, I was like, man, this is such a good pitch. Kentucky might call and go, you want it. And I know but were there NBA, maybe even owners, were people reaching out to you once you'd made this decision to be like, well, I didn't know you wanted to run a team. Like, we would have been interested.
No, not really. A couple of them passing, or like, no, I wouldn't say that. There've been a couple of college ones since I did this, but like, that's not, I'm here at St. Bonaventure. I want to be at Bonaventure. I'm not looking to make. I'm not trying to make a career out of being a college GM or aspire to do it somewhere else. Like I want to help Bonaventure. There's nobody else. I would say this. There's nobody else I would work this hard for. I will never work this hard again. I'm not working any less probably than I did at ESPN. It's just different, but it's a little easier. Again, having my wife is invested in this place the way that I am and her family. So it just means more. She's much more interested in what I'm doing now than what I used to do. So that makes it easier. But yeah, I'm gonna be a Bonaventure.
I don't know if the SEC will like you using their tagline for that, but it
No, and
actually
I'm
makes
like, listen, I would say this, like, it's unique to this place. Like, I wouldn't make much of an impact at any of those places. There are far more qualified people. I think the one thing about this college GM thing that's different from NBA, even like the richest to the poorest team in the NBA, the gap isn't, if you have like a really good player, if I don't know who we would say, let's say maybe the Pacers have had the lowest payroll on average, or they're going to give Tyrese Halliburton a max deal. Like they're not going to lose him because they won't pay him. We're probably going to lose our best player to Kentucky. Use them as an example if they really want to pay him. We lost our best player to Kansas, and the disparity is so much different. So the jobs are so much different, and the way that I do the job at St. Bonaventure is so different. And I talk to a lot of the college GMs and compare notes and talk about contracts and how we're doing things. At the high major level, the job's just very different than it is here. We're almost doing everything, and so a little bit of everything. So, but it's fun, and I love the challenge of it. Listen, I started the program with Woj as the YouTube show podcast. It's not an NBA show. It's a show on team building and sports. So it'll be basketball, football, college, pro, international. Talking to people who are doing interesting things in team building or who are around really interesting team building. But I'm doing it for the NIL money. Like I otherwise would not be doing that. I'm not going back to media. It is not an entry back, but it was a way that there was an interest. There was sponsorship with Novig, and Chris Corcoran, who I started my podcast career with back at Yahoo. If it wasn't him and somebody I really trusted, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I think we can get really good guests on. And I think the revenue that we can bring to it for Bonaventure was something I couldn't say no to, because we need to be as creative as we can to stay in this fight.
I'll say this as we say goodbye. We didn't know each other prior to ESPN. We have a mutual friend, Justin Sanik, who we all love, with the Utah Jazz, and he was like, "You're gonna love Woj," and I was like, "I don't know, like, will I?" And I think he was talking me up to you, and then we were at the combine, and it was just sort of an awkward, like, "Oh, hey, new guy." But obviously, we'll see how it goes. And then I don't know what it was between you and I, but very quickly we became friends, and your friendship means a ton to me. And I would say this to everybody listening, but those rare occasions where Woj would be in Manhattan Beach, he'd like to come out here a lot, and I'd get the text, I'd get the call and be like, "Hey, let's do a dinner tonight," and we'd sit there for maybe 2 hours, and you would light up whenever I would be able to hang. I can't hang with you on any of the old school Connecticut stuff and the high school stuff, but I told you who my AAU coach was from Wethersfield. I told you about how I went to this game and the old field house with Calhoun and all the UConn people. And to see Woj's face light up, like he didn't want to talk about any of the NBA stuff. There'd be even sometimes we're like, "Can you tell me the market on this guy without, thinking I'm going to give it away or anything?" We could have spent 2 hours having dinner. We might talk old school Big East and New England hoops, and he would know every single high school coach and every single player. And this guy was this guy. To see you light up like that in a way that you did not light up, not to say you didn't love or appreciate the NBA, but I could tell when this was announced and you and I had talked about it, it was like, this makes all the sense in the world once I understood what you truly got excited about. So I'm so happy for you.
That means a lot, Ryan. I love you. I appreciate your friendship. And in a lot of ways, and what you're describing, some of it feels like I'm in, I'll go to high school games. I'm in high school gyms. I'm in these gyms in Europe in these really interesting places. And it's such an education. And it feels like, not the Europe part, but even when I go to a high school game, we do recruit some there. It reminds me of how I started out in the business, when you just wanted a byline and you just wanted the Hartford Courant to give this kid who was a clerk in the office a chance to go out and write 400 words on a high school game. And it was the biggest thrill. I got so much more of a thrill out of that than, breaking some big trade at ESPN. And so a lot of it does bring me back to that. And I actually still run into faces that were there when I started doing this. And that's been an awesome part of this, because you can lose yourself at ESPN. You can lose yourself in that place and start to think that, that there's a world that revolves around you, and you have to fight that. And just being back here and living the way I live. I mean, I joke with people. I went from Stephen A picking my hotels to AAA picking my hotels, but it's kind of true.
We will end on that. There's some people close to me that are going to be upset if I don't say go Bonnies. There'll be some other people close to me that'll be upset if I do say it. But hey, Woj, go Bonnies. I know this means a ton to you, and we'll talk again soon. All right.
Thanks, Ryan. Awesome to be with you.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Our email address, lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. Again, lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. Cerruti and Kyle with us on a Wednesday. What's going on? Actually, we teased it a little bit earlier, so let's stay in this. Let's stay in this a little bit. You, Kyle, I don't know if it's funny that you said it, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe are you at a stage where you want to reinvent yourself? Like Woj, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just, I'm usually here in vacation mode, and now I'm here like and just like I got to plan
You live here.
the next thing I'm doing like for the rest of my life, sort of deal. And like at both times, people are a lot nicer here, and also I've been way more afraid here than I ever was walking around LA. So like
What are
I'll
you
be
talking about?
like I'm in a Dunkin' Donuts, right? And
You run that place.
everyone, it's absolutely not. I don't even think anyone, I'd say maybe 0.005% of Poughkeepsie even knows like what I've been up to. So like it's which has been wonderful, But like I'm in a Dunkin' Donuts, and everyone's like just talking to each other, strangers. I mean, it's great. And then at the same time, I'm on Main Street, and I'm just like 10 times more head on a swivel than I ever was on Hollywood Boulevard, and I can't really explain why. It's just a feeling. I'm just like, I remember what happens here. So I don't know. It's just still full of excitement. Every day is like a new adventure.
Does it feel crazy just driving around and being like, I live here now?
Yeah, I'm wondering when I'm gonna stop just listening to the radio, because that was like my one thing. I'd come here, it's like I'm not listening to podcasts, I'm not checking in. I just drive around, listen to WPDH, and I'm like, all right, when are you gonna figure out
Taking
what
it
the
all
hell
in.
you're
Yeah.
doing every day, man? You're just listening to the fucking drive time radio. The drunk guys are calling in at 1:00. It's like, come on, let's figure out maybe a little bit of a routine. But like my shit hasn't even arrived from LA yet. That's gonna be like next week. The movers are taking their time, but so like I just haven't even
So
had my
repeating the
shit.
Harley Davidson shirt.
You could say that.
That's all right. It's a good one to have.
I think this is big enough I
word
could
up?
throw a hoodie under it. I might even be like a hoodie under a big button-up guy. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Anyway,
Has the word gotten out that Kyle's back in town? Like, are people hitting you up?
people
Or
are
is this
showing up. People are showing up. They basically know I'm either at my dad's or my mom's for the most part during the day if I'm working. They're just showing up. So it's been great.
Nice.
Love seeing that smile on your face.
Thanks.
All right, let's get to some emails here. Music. Did your brother do the music for the new show? Yes, he did. How many different cuts did we have going? 3?
There was like 5 different tracks we were potentially choosing from, and then I liked one, and I kind of chose that one. I just
some of us just did what Cerruti said. Yeah, some of us just said whatever you say, man.
Yeah, I did sort of put my foot down on that one. I don't usually do that a lot, but I was like, I think this is the one. This is why. And then our guy Francis made the intro with it. I'm like, it looks awesome and it sounds awesome. The vibe is right, so why change it?
I'm into it, and obviously I'm biased, but my brother was fired up to provide some of that music. We're probably layering some different things. I remember we tried a monologue with music once, and that didn't go over well at all.
Yeah, it did.
Just too
You were
long.
big into music. You were like in a big music bed phase for a
Well,
while.
the problem is when you don't have any music that's licensed to your pod, pickings can be slim, be a little
Sure.
slim. And so, that was something that was just like, hey, is there any way we could maybe get a song or something, like something that I like?
So always remind me back at the radio days when it was, it'd be like we do a segment. It's like, hey, just fade up the NFL films bed if we're talking about football that day.
Yeah.
Throw a little, throw a little.
I love that. I love that music. Even when Red Zone goes like off the air and it's like, what do you do with a drunken sailor NFL version? And it's just on in the background because we were testing the equipment the other day. So the Red Zone was on in the kitchen and I just liked it. I liked it. I didn't even turn it off. I was like going up and down the staircase and it was just on a loop the entire
Hell
time
yeah,
as I
dude.
was waiting for the late game. And I was just, the first night before the big game, it's like fucking coming out of the tunnel like Hardy Warrior. That's how I spend my free time. All right, run clubs, couple follow-ups here. 6'4", 210. That's a lot of size. Basketball comp would be maybe a mid-career Joakim Noah. Not great, but can still give you some run. I love Noah. Love him as a player, love him as a person. I don't even know. Hung out with
Have you
him
heard? Have we told the Joakim Noah story on the pod?
when he destroyed the protein shake in the
It's-
worst possible.
It wasn't
room on
him. It was his
ESPN.
buddy, right?
His buddy did it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in the studio at ESPN. His buddy just goes to shake a protein shake and the top wasn't on it. It just exploded all over the equipment, all over the room, all over the studio. Not great. Not great.
And there are
but-
little like stickers everywhere, no food and drink, and everyone's
yeah.
sort of like everyone's like, listen, we'll just be adults about it. We can
Do you
bring in
think-
a fucking water, and then that guy does that, and it's like we gotta
Do you
have
think
a
Joakim Noah's
revamp of the
entourage
rules.
cared about that sign? Nope.
Of course not, and neither does like talent either. But it's just
No.
like everyone's like, but it's gone okay for a while, and now it's like we're back to square one, and it's like we need
Yeah.
to have a talk, just a little refresh on the no food and drink rules.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Somebody got yelled at, and it wasn't Noah.
right, right.
Noah was dying laughing. He looked like a 12-year-old. He was like, this is the funniest thing in the world. And it wasn't like in a punky way, even though it kind of at its core was a punky thing that he just looking at his friend who fucked up so bad. But nobody could say anything to him because he was doing a car wash and he was famous. But I can tell you, a guy hoping to crank out 22 hours that week got a talking to, and he didn't even do anything. It wasn't even his protein. All right. Like Cerruti, I used to think run clubs were stupid. That's until I started training for a marathon. I started showing up to the Saturday long runs because once you start getting into it, 10, 20-mile runs, it gets hard to map those out. And oftentimes these groups have pre-mapped routes. I was skeptical, but the first thing I noticed once I started with them is they push you without even trying. I was running these long distances around 1 to 2 minutes per mile faster than previously, simply due to me not wanting to get lost in my own competitiveness. First marathon is in a few weeks, and I'm hoping for the 4:20, 4:30 mark, and would be disappointed if it took five hours, barring an injury, of course. Well, thanks.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the point, like, there's always going to be somebody who's holding back in the run club, right? There's always going to be the fastest guy who's not quite going as fast as everybody else because he has to like stay in the herd. And, that was the point of the last email, was that he'd have to stay with his girlfriend this whole time. And that's kind of a bummer.
What do you think of like the accepted social norms of meeting people? Do you know you'll never do? Like Kyle,
We could say run clubs is not happening.
Yep.
but just for the exercise.
who's the least likely of the three to join a run club?
Well, it's certainly me. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's like, oh, geez, was that a heart
Might be
attack?
me.
Maybe you better get out
I
there.
think
You know
it's
what I mean?
me.
No.
I don't run.
Yeah, but you look
don't
like
run.
out of all three of us, you look like you might.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I did say I was sneaky slow in the past. So I don't know that. I think I would
Still
not
can't
join a
believe
run
that.
club.
Captain of the football team is senior year. He's sneaky slow at safety.
I was not. This is now we're getting carried away.
Wait, so Kyle was the captain of his football team, though, right?
No, I was defensive player of the week. I got the shirt to prove it, but
Big
I
deal.
wouldn't say I
Yeah.
was a captain.
Did that shirt make it in the move, or do you put that in the carry-on just to make sure?
That wasn't in the carry-on. I'm hoping it.
Have you worn that? You've worn it once, right?
Yeah, I wore it once.
Yeah.
But I think it was laundry day anyway.
Just can't
You know,
believe
that one's more for me. That's
How
not
about
for everyone
that?
else.
Of the three guys on this show, the only guy that wasn't captain of his high school football team is me.
Crazy.
Who would have ever guessed? All right. Let's talk
Non-ball
about
knower.
relationships. How can I address this politely to my new girlfriend? I will go by Sam, and we can call her Gabby. Well, that doesn't sound like it's going to work out from the jump, but we'll go with it. Hey, guys, love life advice. Some stories make me literally laugh out loud as I listen to it all at the gym. I have a question for you around if this is an acceptable thing to bring up to my new girlfriend. Stats, 6 foot, 215 pounds, 27 years old. Gym stats, can max bench 240, but I'm typically doing 225 for 3 sets of 5 reps. Not trying to bulk up it much anymore. So I'm fine sticking around these numbers. Okay, great. NBA player comp, Marcus Smart.
That's
solid
it, or is
defender
it-
and passer.
Okay.
Act as the soul of the team, too, despite not being near the best player. When opposing teams see me shooting a three-pointer, it's a victory for their defense. But when they are going in, it is backbreaking for them. Do you also try to end Steph Curry's fucking season by ripping his arm out of his socket at the beginning of the year? And then holding up your arms going, what? What? Back to the question, rant over. Is this appropriate to address with my new girlfriend, or how can I go about addressing her politely without offending her? Gabby and I have been dating for about 2 months now. Things have been great. Our humors, plural, go well together. She's beautiful. She's in great shape. I'm very happy to be dating her, exclamation point. We recently, after a handful of dates, finally completed the final step in that dating process, if you catch my drift.
Nice.
I think I got you.
Sounds like a 30-year loan.
Congrats, man.
Finish the paperwork there. It was great, and the chemistry is definitely there. There was one small thing I did notice, and it is still bothering me. While literally there is not a thing that could be wrong with her body anywhere. Built like Sloan from Entourage. If you
Nice.
know, you know.
Yeah. That's
Nice,
a good
dude.
callback.
Wow. Sloan, high approval rating on the show. Didn't even know that. I could not help but notice that on her chest, Gabby has several, 2 to 3. So that's more than one. Several is. So we're talking.
3 to
Gabby
4.
has 2 or 3 long hairs on each side of her chest, maybe an inch long each.
Yeah.
I've been with other women, and I've never run into this
What
before.
color, man? Blonde, I
sounds-
just say forget about it. If it's blonde, I just say, just
It's not
train
even hair.
yourself.
Yeah,
Train
it's not
yourself
even-
to forget about it, man. But if we're talking
Um,
dark hair, I could see how you'd write an email about it.
Just a thick, gnarly,
She's
black
Italian. We put it this way: she's Italian.
tree root of
Yeah.
a side chest hair, or I don't know. Well, I guess side would be oblique. She literally doesn't have much other body hair. Am I shallow for even caring? Should I just let it go because things are going well? Is there any way to address this politely to her at some point without her getting offended? If so, please let me know. Hey, bro, if we had easy ones for you, I feel like a quick tweezer would go a long way. Please let me know. You all right, Kyle?
I'm just thinking. I was thinking whether I should say it or not, but I think I can. But again, this is me being married. We've been together for years and years and years. Sometimes when like she's got something going on a little long, I'll just making sure she's not walking by. I'll just like think. I'll just and but like not actually pull it out. Just like get a little traction on it so she
Little
feels
tension.
it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Reduce the
and not-
drag.
and not say anything. I'll be like, "What? I love it." And then,
I'm sure she loves that.
I love it.
no, but obviously, it gets addressed like within the next 24, 48. But
Yeah.
I haven't come with a great way to like mention it, so I don't. I'll just like give it a little traction, and that's it. I'm
That's
not saying
fine.
this is correct, but
But you're married.
I know. That's why I said I
as
preface
am
this
I.
thing.
You can't. There's no.
I'm safe,
We're
yeah.
talking maybe years of this is just something that's going to have to happen without you saying anything. Like when you're comfortably maybe like engaged, married, or even like years of dating, okay, and you're comfortable in that spot. You're still in that weird place where like it can go either way. It also sounds like you're like really pumped to be dating her, which is great. And if you throw something like this in there, like you just never know, and you're probably going to regret it because it's not
You
something
certainly
that
have to wait.
actually matters. It's not something that really matters, Like, yeah, you may think about it here and there, but it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It does remind me in college we did have this girl who was kind of around, who was known to have
Finish it, dude. I mean, what the hell are you trying to say?
2 to
Yeah,
3 several individual chest hairs. She was known for
yeah,
that.
a specific part of the chest, like maybe around the nipple area. And she was like known for that, which I always used to think like that's such a bummer. Like all these dudes know that you have hairy nipples.
College
And
is
she
a
was
tough
good
time for
looking
that.
too, which is crazy. But yeah,
is that
and so
crazy?
I don't think anybody's saying anything to her about it, I would imagine.
I'm wondering. Listen, you certainly have to like wait it out a little bit. You said you just sealed the deal. Like this is just revel in that and focus on the good for now. I'm wondering if you could like while you're sealing the deal again one time, you could just be like you know what I mean. Just don't say anything, but like just like
pull it out of your
oh yeah
Like a little fur ball, like a cat.
yeah.
That'll go.
Even-
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Wait, but even if it's not true, like you don't. I don't say you have to actually get it there, but you could just be like make
That's
it seem like it
insane.
happened, and then like she'll take a look, and that's you're not saying anything. It just happened. You're being a good sport. I don't know, man. This is tough. I mean, this isn't.
It's a
black and
very
white.
tough one. Yeah, you're right.
I'm
That's why
just
we're
trying to give you
saying-
something. I'm
It's
trying to give you
it's
something.
a hard ignore. It's a hard ignore
Yes.
until like further notice. You're doing fine. She's hot. Sounds like you're out kicking your coverage. You like everything else about her. This is not something to make a big deal out of at all.
I think the only move is the zag, like the John Morant over, where you just next time maybe things are heating up, and you're just like whispering in her ear, be like, "Oh my God, I love your individual 2 to 3 long chest hairs," like so you're complimenting them, and then she's probably unaware, doesn't realize, and then she's like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about?" And then you're like, "Oh, I like them," and then she's like, "I don't." Boom, problem solved. But she thinks you complimented it instead of criticized her way too early in the relationship.
What if you guys get
that
spray
idea.
tans? What if you guys the spray tans? Don't you have to shave if you're getting a spray tan?
Not your entire body.
Oh, I don't know. I
unless
never
you're
got.
well, I guess there's probably guys in New Jersey screaming right now, being like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, what are you, an idiot? Yeah. All right.
And Saugus, not just New Jersey. All right. We got another one here. This one's a little tougher. This one is another complicated.
That one was kind of tough. So
Yeah, starting really tough here. All right, love the show. 26 years old, 6 foot, 182. Love it.
wow.
Player comp Derek White.
Wonder.
Incredible third, fourth option, but when asked to do more with the ball in my hands, you will see some real flaws come out. Our rec team has some former all-state players, so I'm happy to hit corner threes and occasionally run the floor. The problem, my sister won't stop kissing my son. My son is 4 months old, but this issue's been going on since we brought him home from the hospital. My sister's 33 years old and has no kids of her own, and no, they're not normal newborn kiss on the head type of kisses. These are full open mouth to mouth kisses. I've wondered if she's ever gotten some tongue involved. Oof,
That is, yeah.
well, he has
Not
to
normal.
explain it to us so we understand, the audience
Yeah, yeah.
understands, but I don't want to ever read that sentence again. For context, my sister lives about 6 minutes from me and my wife. Sister's an incredible cook and is very often making dinner for our family. She probably makes us 5 meals per week, most of which are more than enough for dinner and enough for lunch at work the next day. It's a huge bonus. No cooking and dishes for us, but we get homemade meals and not having to spend money eating out. So this makes the situation a little sticky. I don't want to offend her and have less meals delivered to us, but this kissing has gotten out of hand. When my wife mentioned to me that this was a serious problem, I told my sister, with 6th season coming up, we don't want anyone kissing the baby. She said, "That's a great idea!" Exclamation point. When I walked into the next room, she proceeded to smooch him. The final straw came last night while I was at my rec game. We won 113-61. Dude, 113 in
God
a rec
damn.
game?
There's no mercy rules in rec games. That's
Nah,
crazy.
it's like Loyola back in the day. My sister delivered some chicken Alfredo with bacon and garlic bread to my wife. Whoa. You don't like Alfredo at all, huh, Cerruti?
No, I'm saying I think the kissing is going to continue if that's what's going to be on the menu.
With a side of
Oh.
smooch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got no problem with it at this point.
She walked right into the house, grabbed my son from my wife. My wife said he might be sad because he's teething. My sister then kisses him on the mouth and puts her finger in his mouth to feel his teeth.
Oh my God.
No, I actually think the second part isn't that abnormal. You don't check babies for their teething?
Not other people's babies.
Coming off the street. I mean,
I'm
usually
constantly
it's like
checking.
coming off the
Just-
street.
I was at the
Touching
farmer's market
doorknobs?
yesterday. I was like, "Ooh, they're coming in good." I checked out 3
Let me get my hand in there.
Yeah. How's it going? I'm Ryan. Oh, we love the
Uh,
pod.
another
What's
week or
going on
two.
with your kids' jibs? Let's get in there. How do we stop this behavior without Emil's getting impacted? She's pretty easily offended. And if I approach this the wrong way, I could see her being upset, not upset enough to make a huge deal, but enough to subtly stop cooking food for us. Any advice or guidance is appreciated. Well, you guys are the married guys, and Cerruti, you.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
Cerruti,
is
you start, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah.
no, this is this is like a legitimately reasonable request. My wife was way more into it than I was about just like, hey, when the baby comes home, because we had our baby, our first kid, in the middle of COVID, and so like
And
things
happy
where everybody was
birthday.
kind of on edge. RSV was bad. Thank you. Yeah, she just turned 3. Um,
Have that in my
so like she
calendar.
was really like, hey, no one, I don't want anyone's face around the baby. So she was kind of the one that was like being the no kissing police kind of thing. That's definitely way more relaxed with the second one, but it is like a legitimate concern.
The second one's smoking.
Listen, we just leave her alone in rooms at times. It's fine. She's great, but it's tough because I think the play is you might not like this, but I think the play is like the kids are gonna get a cold at some point, right? And then after the kid gets a cold, I think you say, hey, we got to put our foot down. Should pass a lot of germs around. There's a no kissing rule now. So that way you can at least blame it on something. If you do it out of nowhere right now, it's going to feel like a personal attack to your sister. It's going to be bad. Hopefully it's a minor. I mean, my babies get sick all the time, and they're usually pretty minor. And then you get sick. It's super fun. Love it. I was just sick for like a week and a half right before the show started.
Yeah, you still sound kind of shitty.
I
buddy.
still, dude, not to be
Yeah, you
gross,
don't look
I
good
have
at
not
all.
blown snot out my nose the way that they're looking these days. It is unbelievable. Like, it is actually insane. But neither here nor
During,
there.
during the holiday season, though, you'd be amped up.
Hopefully. I mean, you'd think
Yeah.
my immune system would be better, but it just has not. I've been sick more in the 3 years of life that I've had kids than I was literally in my entire life combined. Literally. So I'm just a weaker human now. It's great. So anyway, back to the original thing. Wait for the kid to maybe get a minor cold. Just say, hey, we got to put our foot down. Like, we're just worried about the kid getting sick again, so we don't want any stuff. And that's kind of how you do it, and not really have it be a personal thing to her.
The one thing I'm seeing here is this is your sister. This would have been like, I feel like we've heard a version of this email where, it's not, putting fingers in babies' mouths or it's something else, but it's just like, it's my mother-in-law. It's my great aunt. It's my great, like my wife's aunt. Like, you have a direct line. You should be able to be like, is it his first kid? You can be like, hey, listen, it's our first kid. You know how it goes. The second kid, we're just, we're a little bit overcautious. And I just think this is a thing that it would make us all feel comfortable if we could just not have it. This is your sister. I know you're like, you don't want to have a tough conversation and you're like, I don't want to get my free. It's like she's not like forgetting that she's giving you free meals and like all of a sudden it'd be like, oh, like this has to stop because you mentioned something to me. This is your sister. I don't know what kind of sister you have. You say you live 6 minutes away and she comes over all the time. This is something that I think they can handle, especially if it's your first kid. You can be like, you always hear like people are a little crazy about their first kids. We're just whatever. Do you mind this? We're just making it a hard and fast rule. Whatever. The neighbor's doing it. You can make up some I guess she's 6 minutes away. You could say this, the neighbor's coming over and getting in the baby's face. So we're just trying to like, put a small new rule in place. But this is your sister again. I just think you got to consider what kind of relationship you guys have.
But he said she's easily offended, which I think we know
Yeah.
who that person is, and I think we know how it's going to go.
It's not going to go well, right? I mean, a lot of times when we have these things presented to us, I kind of default to like, well, who can get away with telling the person they want them to stop doing the thing? Is it the husband or the wife in this case? And since, it is kind of weird that you were there to see your son's first kiss, but if you look at it like your sister can mess with you, you're still her brother, like this is more since she doesn't have kids and she's 33, I think is what he said. Like, this is so much more than just a nephew. This is like, oh my God, like my brother has a baby, and like people freak out about babies. People drive hours on weekends just because someone had a baby. I mean, I don't know if Six Flags towards the end was like, do we just tear down the rides and have babies everywhere? And then we'll get back in the black here. But I think if you were to blame the wife on this one and not have the
having
wife,
a wife is huge.
yeah,
It is.
This is part of marriage. Is that like, all right, who's taking the hit here? And then the wife doesn't actually have to have the conversation. So all you have to do is the brother and go, look, I think she's crazy, but
Oh yeah,
like you got to chill out on making out with my 4-month-old son. Like she's worried about germs. I think Cerruti's ultimate advice on this one, though, like germ police, cranking up. We got Halloween, we got
It's
Thanksgiving,
going to happen.
we got right into Christmas. right? And New Year's, President's Day, for Christ's sakes. I mean, we're on fire. So
Print out an article that says like, "Hey,
right.
RSV is tough this year." That comes out every year. Just give it to her, and hey, this is going around. We just really want to be protective of our
Boom.
kid.
Boom.
Yeah. Or blame your wife.
Yeah, this article has her going nuts. There you go. Now you got it all
Yeah.
into one little package.
Yeah.
Shout out to being married, dude. Sometimes
Just
stuff
print
like
out
that just
something.
falls in your lap.
I saw this on the Atlantic the other day. It's like why 5-month-olds shouldn't make out with grown women.
I disagree, but this is what the Atlantic
Yeah,
says.
I think it's bullshit, but Ben / something thinks it's a great idea. All right,
On Blue Sky.
Yeah, that'll do it for us today on the show. Thanks to Cerruti, thanks to Kyle as always. Make sure you subscribe and check out our YouTube exclusives as well. The Ryen Russillo Show, part of the Barstool Network.